A key part of getting out of a rut like this or a failure loop is taking ownership of those failures, of those problems. But guess what? That alone doesn't solve them at all. Just saying, I didn't get promoted, okay, it was my fault, period. That doesn't solve the fact that you didn't get promoted. I'm not getting called back to do this other contracting job. It's my fault. Does that mean you get called back? No, it doesn't mean anything. Taking ownership means that you actually have to identify the problem. You know you're responsible for it, and then you actually have to solve the problem. That's what you have to do. Just taking ownership of the problem doesn't make it go away. You have to take ownership of the problem, you have to take ownership of finding a solution, and then you have to take ownership of implementing that solution. So this is the thing. And this is what makes this very challenging, is this idea that, like, but how could I possibly control this or that? How can I possibly take ownership of the fact that my boss is an idiot and fired me? How can that be my fault? That he didn't see how good I was, right? Okay, we see what's going on there. You obviously aren't being introspective and taking a look and saying, okay, this is obviously my fault. Here's what I need to change. Now, you do get to these things where you have no control. So, God asked a question. A guy said, I lost my girlfriend to opiate overdose, dead. She died. How do I take ownership of that? And so I expanded that question. How do you take ownership in a situation like that? And so here's what I went on to say to this guy. I said this might seem like a unique situation, but it's not, because there's things that occur in our lives that we actually don't have any control over. For instance, most horrible, your family member, someone, gets cancer, gets a horrible terminal disease. How do you take ownership of that? And the answer is, in these cases, when things that are truly beyond your control occur, what you take ownership of is how you respond to them. That's what you take ownership of. How do you respond to, you lose your girlfriend to drugs, your kid gets cancer, you get cancer, something, you get this horrible disease. How do you respond to that? That's what you can take ownership of. And that's what you have to take ownership of. So, my point in saying that is, yes, there are absolutely things that you cannot control, and what you can control is your reaction to them when they unfold. The amount of things that we have zero control over is very small. So many things, if we look at ourselves and say, what could I do better? What could I do different? How can I make an adjustment here? The reason that you're probably stuck in this loop continually is because the things that you're blaming on other people, take ownership of them, get them fixed. Take ownership of them and get them fixed. Take ownership of them, make some moves. Take ownership of them, look what you can do different. That's what you have to do.